I'm Pam Collins, Director of Gardens in the Department of Plant and Soil Sciences at Mississippi State University, and this is the Veterans Memorial Rose Garden. Today, in Gardening Through the Seasons, I want to show you several classes of modern roses that we have in our garden. This is an example of a hybrid tea, one of the most common varieties of roses that you will find in today's gardens, and this is the one that most people recognize. The shrub itself tends to be very vertical in its growth habit. It has a few very stout canes and some very stout thorns on it as well. The leaves are large and they may be 3 to 5 leaflets on each leaf. The flower is ranged around the center and is usually double, and it will have a very tight spiral arrangement around a high center. The flowers bloom on the ends of the flowering stalks, very long stalks that are excellent for cutting, and these roses enjoy a situation in the garden where they are good cutting flowers or they're good use for formal gardens. This is a young bud just starting to open on a hybrid tea. Notice that the petals are arranged spirally around a high center, forming this bowl-shaped bud. One of the things to consider if you choose to grow hybrid teas is that they will need to be sprayed on a regular basis. Unfortunately, they are susceptible to several diseases, especially in our area black spot. And this is a typical example of black spot on hybrid tea foliage. Now this is an example of a Floribunda rose. It is similar to a hybrid tea in terms of having the large leaves. It is upright growing, but it has more branches and so has a rounder form and a more shrubby look to it in the landscape. However, it is different from a hybrid tea in the sense that the flowers bloom on the ends of the stems in multiple numbers. So you have small sprays of flowers rather than a single flower on the end of the stem. This is the bud. Here you can see where the roses are grouped together on the stem. And this makes it a wonderful garden plant. Maybe not as good for cutting flowers, but for large display in the garden. In this case, the flower looks a lot like a hybrid tea with the petals arranged around a high center. But that can be different depending upon the cultivar of Floribunda. Understand that Floribundas may come in many different sizes and configurations, and this is an example of a Floribunda that is much shorter than the one I showed you before. It grows about 24 inches tall and is great for bedding plants or for small planting sites. This is an example of a mini flora compared to the other two roses that I showed you previously. It's also called a Patio Rose. Notice that the foliage is smaller in all respects to the other two plants, and so are the blooms. You can see the comparison between this plant and the larger foliage of showbiz that I showed you previously. Notice that this mini flora growth habit is vertical and rather narrow in its growth habit, and this makes it very useful for small areas for planting or for container growth. This is the smallest class of roses I want to show you today. These are true miniature roses, and the size of the plant is smaller in all respects than all of the other classes that I've shown. Notice that the flowers are very small, the leaves are very small, the plant grows to be about 12 inches tall. This is an increasingly popular class of roses that you're finding in the marketplace more and more today. These are shrub roses, modern shrub roses, and this particular cultivar is Carefree Marvel. Notice how it is spreading. The foliage is very glossy, green, and healthy. This plant is highly disease resistant and will not require spraying. It's very similar to the very popular Knockout. Finally, this is another example of a shrub rose, a modern shrub rose, and this kind of rose is being brought more and more to the marketplace by the plant rose breeders. This is considered a ground cover rose. It's very spreading in its habitat, in its growth habit, and the flowers are very simple but massed in a lovely way that presents itself well in a general landscape. Again, this rose will not require spraying. You see how healthy the foliage is. That is a main characteristic being chosen for today in breeding programs. If you would like to help support this garden and our rose research program, you may contact Judd Skelton or Charles Weatherly of the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences Division of the MSU Foundation and make a donation to the MSU Gardens Fund. If you would like more information about the Veterans Memorial Rose Garden or about roses, please go to www.rosegarden.msstate.edu. I'm Pam Collins, and this is Gardening Through the Seasons.